Welcome back to another episode of the Believe in NFL Draft Prospects podcast. We are wrapping up very, very soon our positional rankings. Today we're going to be talking corners. Ryan, man, we're getting really freaking close to the draft. We're almost a week away. This is probably going to drop on Wednesday of this week, so we'll be a week and a day away. I'm getting antsy, man. This is exciting.
Yeah, no, it is, man. This is always the fun time because you put in all the work, obviously, and you're just kind of doing the analysis piece, moving up. And next week we'll be on the radio circuit all week, man. I don't know about you, but Cam already has like 6 different spots for me already. It's like crazy.
I love Cam. And Cam, it's not him, but like Cam was already messaging me this morning at 6 a.m., like trying to book me on stuff today. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. You got to give me a little bit more runway here, man. I'm already busy as it is.
yeah. At least he was just planning me like a week out with the trip to South Bend and everything. Yeah.
Right. You're away this weekend, so that kind of helps you out. But I stupidly was like, just give me all of it. Anything that Ryan can't do, just give it to me. And now I'm already almost booked up on.
Well, I had somebody. I had a gentleman that I've been on his podcast a bunch. It's like a Wisconsin-based like ESPN station. He messaged me. He was like, "Oh, can you come on in like an hour?" I'm like, probably not. Like an hour.
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to book us, we'd love to come on. Just don't ask us to do it in an hour. That would be much appreciated because next week is going to be very, very tight.
Hectic.
So let's get into our coverage because again, we're on a tight schedule. Cornerbacks today is what we're going to be talking about. Very, very talented group. Ryan, this crop of corners, there was a lot of deliberation. I feel like at the beginning of the season. Oh my God, I'm actually just now looking at your top 5 and oh my God, this is going to be a really interesting episode.
Is it controversial? You think it's controversial?
I think it is. I think it's a little bit controversial.
I didn't think this was. I thought this was one of my least controversial lists. Yeah.
We'll get to it. I'll share why I think it's controversial. But it feels like there is not much deliberation because we know who the top 3 is. We know that it's in some order of Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, Andrew Booth. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of teams. Well. Let me backtrack. I think the majority would agree with that statement, but I do think there are some fans of Kaiir Elam out of Florida, Trent McDuffie out of Washington, even Kyler Gordon out of Washington, because I do think that this class is really strong. Like it is after the edge position, like you could sell me on wide receiver or cornerback being the best groups in this 2022 NFL draft. So I think there's a lot of different possibilities in the first round. So I think for the majority, you're correct that the top 3 is pretty cemented, but there may be some people that push back a little on that.
Right. I think that for me, this list of the top 5 that you have, it feels like the 5 guys you went with are a consensus pick.
For the most part,
I just think the ordering of the top 3 is very much different from what everybody else has.
It's fair. Hey, man.
Right.
Difference. Sometimes groupthink makes you think incorrectly. So I'm just gonna put that out there,
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm not disagreeing with you. I didn't look at it because we were talking about other stuff before we started taping, and I was letting you fill it in. And I'm now seeing it, and I'm excited to get into it because it is unique.
I would just like to say, man, little quick preface for a second. I historically have been pretty darn good on cornerback stuff. Yeah. Have I not? I've had some nice hits, man.
And I will say the ordering that you have in your top 3, it's been like this for a while, so I shouldn't be shocked. I just wasn't sure if you maybe made some adjustments based on some stuff that we saw at the Combine and some other things, but we're going to get into it, Ryan. Before we do, I just want to tell our listeners about today's sponsors. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. Don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to their website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also, folks, I want to tell you about Athletic Greens. Tons of people take multivitamins, but it's important to choose one that is top quality. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to start your day right. Their special blend of ingredients supports gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's also lifestyle-friendly and fits a wide range of diets. There's only 1 gram of sugar and no chemical or artificial anything. Reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/believe. That's BLEAV. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/believe. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Damn it. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Athletic Greens take ownership of your health. I always get through the damn read, and then I mess it up at the end. But let's not mess up our corner discussion.
Yep.
Your biggest sleeper. You're telling me that I'm going to really like this guy. He's got a bit of a bland name. His name is Deron Bland from Fresno State. I got to know, why am I going to like this guy, and why is he your sleeper?
Dude, are you a dad? That was like the most dad introduction I've ever heard in my life. You
set me up for that.
Yeah. All right. So back to oh man, you just messed up my train of thought. You really you just punched me in the face, basically. Deron Bland, cornerback out of Fresno State. He was actually, the reason I said that you would like this one, Joe, is that he was actually a Sacramento State player and transferred over to Fresno State. So this was an FCS kid for the majority of his career. And he was at Sac State originally. So he was there for, I think, 3 or 4 years, and then he transferred to Fresno this past year. Only played 1 year at Fresno. Very athletic, extremely athletic. I think he went to the NFLPA Bowl. He is over 6 foot tall, 200 plus pounds, big corner, had some nice film this past year for Fresno, was a really good player for Sacramento State. And the reason I like him, Joe, is that he has a lot of traits to work with this player, right? And he is, like I said, the size already. He went to the pro day, and at the Fresno State pro day, he had a 4.42 in the 40-yard dash, 10.3 broad, 35.5-inch vertical. This kid is an explosive player. Also did 14 reps on the bench. He was a guy that I was targeting for the College Gridiron Showcase, but then, of course, the NFLPA Bowl came in and stole him from me. But if you go back to his track background coming out of high school, this was a 24-plus foot long jumper. This was a 47-foot-plus triple jumper, and also a 6'6" high jumper, man. Like, this guy is athletic, and there's a lot of traits to work with here. I think he has the possibility to go somewhere 6th, 7th round. I think that he might fall there just because he's, for the majority of his career, was a small school player, only played 1 year at the FBS level for Fresno State. But I think there's a lot of traits to work with for Deron Bland. I'm excited about him because I think that he has pretty good zone instincts, but he's just a really good athlete. So I think that he's a little bit of a scheme-diverse player with his size and athleticism, and I think that he's worth a gamble somewhere late day 3 because I think he has some. I'm not going to say he's going to be a starter because there's some things that he needs to improve on, obviously, but he's got starter traits. He's definitely athletic enough to play in the NFL level.
Of course, I'm going to root for those FCS guys, but I will say I don't know if I would like that pick because he left the FCS. But
stop! You hold it against all the FCS kids that transfer.
No, I definitely don't. I always root for those guys to continue to make names for these FCS programs. But that Sac State team that he probably left had some sneaky good guys on it, like Elijah Dotson. Was there the running back? I don't know if he transferred anywhere.
They had I think he transferred this offseason, but they also had the transfer quarterback from Middle Tennessee State, Asher O'Hara, who transferred over there. I mean, they're gonna be a pretty good team next year. I mean, for like a preview of Sac State, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, this ended up being a Sac State preview. Just kidding. Most overhyped though. This one, I knew you were gonna pick this one, and I wholeheartedly agree with this one. This is like, it's similar to like my Nakobe Dean beef. Like I don't like Nakobe Dean as much as I think everyone else does. I went on a Georgia podcast last week and laid it. They actually kind of agreed with me, but they still were, fans of Nakobe Dean. But you went with Tariq Woolen as most overhyped. The UTSA corner, the 6'4" corner who ran a blazing fast time at the NFL Combine for his 40. And the hype for him, I think, has gotten a little bit out of control. We see a tall, long athlete, and we're obsessed. But the thing that you really pointed out throughout this period of time, especially to me and in having conversations, the guy can't turn. The guy just doesn't have any as much flexibility as you'd like. And that's what you get with these tall, long corners, is that they're not fluid in transition. And the less that you can do, the less valuable you are.
Yeah, no, he's got tight hips. He absolutely does. And everyone knows the background, obviously, right? Like former wide receiver, now playing corner. And I mean, at 6'4" with 4.28 speed, there's a lot to like, man. Like there's a lot. And if we're talking about this kid as a day 3 type of player with traits to play down the road in a specific scheme, whether it's a press bail system or it's a cover 3 system, I would be okay with that. But now we're talking, I mean, Joe, I think there's a reasonable possibility he goes in the second round. Like there's reasonable that this could happen, man. He's a day 2 lock, in my opinion, based on those traits. And I just can't get there, man. I can't. Like everyone hated the Nahshon Wright pick last year with the Cowboys in the 3rd round. Nahshon Wright's a better football player than this kid is. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, he's only been playing the position a couple years, and that's fair. That's fair. But like you just said, it's about having the skill set that you can kind of project forward. And I just think he's tight, man. Like I just think he's really tight. So there's going to be some very scheme specificness to Tariq Woolen. Does he have upside as a starter in the right system? Sure. But I just would not draft him on day 2. I think there's a lot of question marks with him. And anytime that I have a corner that is extremely scheme specific, that's a red flag to me to begin with. But then if you have a corner that is just tight hipped and it doesn't have the transitional quickness or the fluidity, I am terrified of Tariq Woolen. I think he's going to give up a lot of easy completions at the next level. Starting caliber traits, but the film is just not nearly where people are acting like it is right now. It's just very raw right now.
Let me ask you this. So he's a former receiver. Does he at least have good hands?
It's okay. They're okay. He has decent ball skills. I don't know if his hands are great because there's a reason that he's playing corner, right? But he adjusts the football pretty well. He's got a good catch radius. There's things to like with him at the catch point, but I wouldn't say he's the best hands catcher of all time. Okay. He's no Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley's got mitts. Andrew Booth has mitts. Those guys have mitts. But yeah.
Speaking of those guys, let's get into your top 5 corners here. At number 5. You went with the Washington corner, Trent McDuffie, who it seems like he's got a little bit of some legs to be a late first rounder, probably early day 2. What are your thoughts on McDuffie, and why do you like him in the top 5?
I think he could go in the first round. I really do. The tough part about him is that he's a little bit of an outlier because he's got short arms. He's got sub 30-inch arms, which is a big red flag because I think there's going to be some teams that are just going to kind of say, can he be a press man corner? Could he be a man-to-man corner just in general? And it's a good question. I think, though, if you're a heavy zone scheme and some off man, I think that he could play at a very high level because this is probably either him or Andrew Booth are probably the best tackling corner in this class. He is very explosive coming downhill, tackles at a phenomenal rate, even though he's not the biggest corner of all time. And he's a very sticky dude working down the field, and he's explosive. So I like a lot of what Trent McDuffie is. I think he's one of the more consistent players as far as from a technical perspective and an IQ perspective. But there's just going to be some limitations as far as what the length looks like for him. But I think that he could be a Jair Alexander-esque type of player, right? There's going to be some scheme specificness, but I think that he has the traits where the size profile doesn't quite matter as much because I just think he's such a good athlete and just so smart.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that tested really well, and it's so funny seeing how many really good athletes there are in this class. Number 4, you have slotted Kaiir Elam, and I feel like he's not as fast as the rest of these guys.
He ran 4.39 or something, man. Yeah, he ran 4.3 something. Yeah,
I'm mixing him up with somebody else. That's my fault because everyone just ignored that I just said that. Kaiir Elam, though.
Yeah.
Tell me why I'm wrong about him being slow.
Nah, he's
Anyway, sorry, I made it so long without saying something stupid, and here we are. We're a week away, and my brain's already fried.
I wish you would have went on a Florida-based podcast and said that Kaiir Elam was slow. So you got roasted. So Kaiir is a high-cut corner. Transitional stuff isn't phenomenal, but I think it's good enough. He reminds me stylistically a lot of what Patrick Surtain brought to the Patrick Surtain Jr. Brought to the table last year coming out of Alabama. I don't think he's the most quick corner of all time, but I think that he has long speed and he has incredible length and physicality. One of the best press man corners in the class as well. So I think that there's a really good floor with a guy like Kaiir Elam, and I think there's a massive upside. He's also, I think he is the cousin, if I remember correctly, of Matt Elam that came out of the University of Florida, was the first round pick to the Baltimore Ravens, who ended up not being very good in the NFL. But I think Kaiir is press man corner all day long. I think he's a starter absolutely at the NFL level, and I think he's got all the traits to be a really high-end starter too. So I like Kaiir a ton. I wanted to put him a little higher on this list, but like we're just in a cornerback class where there's a lot of talent up top, so it was just impossible to get him any higher, unfortunately.
So here's where things get a little bit spicy, because everyone seemingly has.
Oh, spicy! I get where you're going with that.
Oh, actually, that wasn't intentional, but that's actually a really freaking good transition. I'm so talented at transitioning that I just do it without thinking. But
sure,
Sauce Gardner has become the number one guy. He is in these mock drafts, in these discussions. He went to the combine and I think really showed up, particularly when Derek Stingley and Andrew Booth did not test.
Sure.
But you still keep him at 3.
Yep.
And I feel like that's still pretty high for you, because originally at the beginning of the season, you weren't really in on Sauce Gardner. I think you've kind of bought in a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But why is he number 3 for you?
Yeah, I had a second round grade in the summer, so I liked him, but I was a little hesitant on him just because I didn't know what the transitional quickness was, and I didn't know how fast he was. But of course, he checked those boxes at the combine as far as the long speed's concerned, running in the 4.4s but nearly 6'3". So he checks a lot of boxes, man. He's got incredible length, 33-inch arms. There's a lot to like with Sauce. This is my disclaimer, Joe. This is my disclaimer. The top 3 corners on this board, I would take in the top 15 to 20 picks. So like these are very highly ranked football players in my opinion. Sauce is the best in this class, in my opinion, of playing to his length. Like he disrupts the line of scrimmage. He disrupts the catch point. Everything is just extremely consistent. He's a better athlete than I originally gave him credit for. I think the top 2, though, that I have are higher caliber athletes, which is why I kind of defer to them a little bit at that position. But Sauce is a very consistent player, and I think he's a safe bet to being a really good starter at the NFL level.
So now, as we continue on with the rest of these 2 guys that you have, I think the debate now that we get into is Stingley or Andrew Booth, and I've always known that you were an Andrew Booth guy. And again, you pointed out that you've always been against what everyone else has been pushing, but you've always pretty consistently gotten a lot of these guys right. But at number 2, you have Derek Stingley, who at his pro day ran a 4.37, had such a good early part of his career at LSU, struggles with some injuries, the team overall struggles, and I think our perspective on him has deteriorated because of all of those things that come into play. But for Derek Stingley, he's at number 2. Why do you put him there? Why does he fit?
I mean, his upside's the best in the class. I mean, I don't know if you saw the clips from his pro day, Joe, but like he did a 38-inch vert and has the worst technique ever. He's just such a phenomenal athlete, man. Like he is a freak of nature. And 2 years ago, you probably would have put a slam dunk that he's a top 5 player in this class. And obviously he's dealt with a lot of nagging injuries during the last couple of years and some inconsistencies, just very, very point blank to it. But the kid can be a star. He can be an absolute star. He is just so athletic, so fluid. Ball skills are good. It's a little unsettling the last 2 years with the injuries. Like that's going to give you some pause. And I understand that there's going to be some NFL teams that are just going to kind of be down on him a little bit because like it's the best ability is availability always. So like there's going to be some teams that are questioning how much they like Derek Stingley. But if he hits his ceiling, man, he's going to be special. Like not just good, special. Talent is just through the roof. Like you said, 4.3, 4.4 speed, 6 foot plus, ball skills for days. He's got NFL bloodlines. I think it's all there for Derek Stingley. And if he's able to stay healthy, I think he's going to be a very impactful corner. And obviously there's going to be some people that are going to question, but is he going to stay healthy? And that's fair. It's 100% fair. And I think that's why he's going to get knocked down to, a top 20 pick instead of where he was a bit originally, maybe like a top 5 player at some people's opinion. So there's going to be some diversity to his evaluation, but I do think that Derek Stingley is a special talent from a physical perspective.
Lastly, Andrew Booth Jr., the Clemson corner. Again, most people think that he's like the 3rd guy out of the guys that we've mentioned, but you have him at number one. What makes him so different, and maybe why does your opinion differ from everybody else's that makes him the number one guy for you?
I think he's out of sight, out of mind a little bit, because he wasn't able to test, obviously, this draft process. I mean, I think the caliber of athlete here is at least on par with Derek Stingley, maybe better. Like, I think that he was going to be a 4.3 something athlete. I think he was going to have a 40-inch vert. Because when you watch this kid, I mean, the ball skills, the fluidity in playing the football in the air, and just the springiness are just all special, man. I don't think I've ever seen a corner that plays the football better in the air than Andrew Booth. He basically is a wide receiver on defense. Like, he just has great ball skill, has sticky hands. It's incredible. And then he's got more length than Derek Stingley. I think he's got near 32-inch arms. He's 6 foot plus. He's got a great frame to work with. He's built better, from a physical perspective. And he plays physically as a football player. He's a good tackler. He's physical at the line of scrimmage and press. A lot of great traits to work with, man. I think this kid is a lockdown corner at his peak. There's a lot of Champ Bailey in Andrew Booth's game, in my opinion. I know that there's reasons that people are kind of questioning him. He's not the best zone corner of all time. Who gives a shit? Excuse me for a second, but he's going to play man-to-man the majority of the time, and he's going to shut down the number one receiver on the other team, and he's an athletic freak. So people are overthinking Andrew Booth a little bit. I think he's got special traits. I think he's a top 10 player, at least in this class, maybe top 5 for me. I think he's a special type of player.
See, Ryan, this is why people are commenting in our Apple Podcast ratings that it needs an explicit tag, because you're just loosely throwing around the word shit. Yeah.
Shit. Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's exactly what it is.
Our podcast or our YouTube channel is called Hack City. Do people expect this to be like a very classy kind of ordeal?
That's true. That's on any person for not thinking that we're not going to be very loose and
right.
Careless.
Yes, loose and rigid, man. That's what we do over here.
Loose and rigid, those are antonyms, but they work. Wait, yeah, they're loose and rigid. Those are two complete opposites.
but no, but yes, technically they're opposites, but you have to talk about the context that they're used in, man. Like, we're loose-lipped, so we're rigid. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but rigid means tight.
No, rigid means rough. Look it up.
Unable to bend or be forced out of shape, not flexible, not able to be changed or adapt. So that like loose implies. How do on the FCS show, I argue with Sean about words and I can't spell them. And here we are in the draft show arguing.
But I'm talking about being loose-lipped. I'm not talking about being loose in form. I'm talking about being loose-lipped. So you're being rigid.
Oh, sorry, Ryan. You were the teacher. You should probably. I
was an English major recently, and you're arguing with me about words. I'm a wordsmith. I was a
journalism major.
I don't give a shit what you were. I don't give a shit what you were.
Yeah, like I was like doing accounting or like construction.
Dude, you were doing like basket weaving or some shit. You were a football player.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was the chaotic ending to the show that I wasn't expecting. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button. Be sure to stay up to date with our draft coverage. We'll be back.